Señora López, por favor, empiece la grabación.
Mrs. Nickensbury, you're muted.
The time is now 7:53.
El horario es 7:53.
Good
Has
evening.
interpretation been assigned?
I'm trying. I'm clicking the button, waiting for it to start. 1 second.
The time is now 7:54.
El momento, la hora ahorita es 7:54.
Good evening and welcome to the February
Buenas
13th,
tardes.
2023 fiscal year 2024 proposed operating budget public hearing. My name is Judy Nickens-Murray, Board Chair. Thank you for joining our proposed public hearing tonight. And I apologize for our lateness, but we were doing good work on your behalf with the amendments for our fiscal year 2024 budget. We have Spanish interpretation services available this evening. Ms. Lopez, would you please make an announcement that Spanish interpretation is available for viewers by clicking on the globe icon at the bottom of the screen?
La interpretación en español está disponible para los espectadores haciendo clic en el icono del globo en la parte inferior de la pantalla. Haga clic en este globo y seleccione Spanish.
This meeting is currently being live streamed via YouTube. For viewers who are not able to observe at this time, the meeting is also being recorded. This information will be on our board webpage and also available on the PGCPS YouTube channel for later viewing. The Board of Education has convened this evening for the sole purpose of receiving public comment on the fiscal year 2024 proposed operating budget, which was presented by our CEO, Dr. Golson, at the December 8th, 2022 board meeting. The Board of Education appreciates your participation in this public hearing to voice your opinions on the fiscal year 2024 proposed operating budget. With the public's involvement, we aim to meet the needs of our students and staff in Prince George's County Public Schools in a collaborative manner. Ms. Lopez, please call the roll.
Mrs. Adams.
Here.
Ms. Bush-Strother.
Here.
Mr. Briggs.
Present.
Mr. Serrón Ruiz.
And sorry.
Mr. Fields. Mr. Jackson.
Here.
Mrs. LaSalle Frazier. Dr. Juanita Miller.
Present.
Dr. Juanita Miller.
Present.
Dr. Zipporah Miller.
Present.
Mr. David Murray.
Present.
Mr. Valentine.
Here.
Ms. Walker. Mrs. Nickens-Murray.
Here.
Dr. Harris. We have quorum, Madam Chair.
Thank you. There are 5 confirmed registered live public speakers for tonight's public hearing. To our registered speakers, you have been registered to speak in a public comment forum where the Board of Education will listen to your comments. The board will not address your comments. All registered speakers will have 3 minutes to make their presentation. Registered speakers may not relinquish any part of their speaking time to another registered or unregistered individual. Speakers may not address individuals or issues with profanity or derogatory terms. You will be warned once. If you continue, your comments will be muted and you may be removed from the meeting. Speakers are encouraged to use titles rather than names. For example, principal, CEO, board chair, board member, etc. Your adherence to these guidelines will enable the public participation process to move smoothly. Our first registered speaker for this evening is Nathaniel Hanson, Climate Parents of Prince George's County.
Hello and good evening to all. I am a student at Eleanor Roosevelt High School and I'm part of the Environmental Defense Club there. I'm here on behalf of PGCPS Climate Parents and my school. I'm here to speak about the upcoming renovations for Eleanor Roosevelt High School as a Cycle 3 school. Roosevelt has a large flat roof perfect for installing solar panels. They would give about 3,005,749 kilowatts per year. They should be relatively easy to install on the roof and will pay for itself within the year. This extra power will save on operating costs of the school, namely lowering the cost of electricity bills. The money saved could be spent on many things, such as future renovations, salaries for teachers and other employees. I hope you will consider not only doing this for Roosevelt, but when renovating any other PGCPS school, because it is important that we do what we can to move away from fossil fuels. This should be a priority for schools as caretakers of the next generation. It is our future that is at stake. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hanson. Our next speaker is Joseph Jakuda, Climate Parents of Prince George's Funding.
Thank you, Chair McInsmurray and the Board of Education. I'm here to speak to you on the FY2024 operating budget. Of course, Climate Parents is a campaign to reduce climate-causing pollution in our schools, and we're active here in Prince George's. And in particular, we worked with PGCPS staff to develop a climate change action plan for the schools. It's been just under a year since the Board of Ed adopted the Climate Change Action Plan, and we can see the PGCPS has been hard at work implementing it. In fact, a report was just released today, and I got the email. We're still digesting it all, but a lot of progress has been made, and we commend the school system for that. This, of course, is though the first time to address our recommendations in the operating budget. And there are some one-year priorities that we wanted to ensure were included in the FY24 budget when all is said and done. Most importantly, to have a sustainability or resiliency officer position in place. While we've been able to count on CEO Goldson for her hard work leading the implementation of this plan, we know the change is coming, and it will be good to have someone who can work across departments in order to see a complete implementation of the plan. It's also important to start funding to a greater degree curriculum of climate change, and also to focus some monies on energy saving, in particular an audit of all existing buildings. We are seeing volatile energy prices. They're leading to skyrocketing natural gas costs and electricity costs, and that money comes at the expense of other priorities in the school system. It's also time to fund a baseline assessment of food waste. We just saw a waste characterization study from Prince George's County government, which 60% of the PGCPS waste came from food. And this is food waste going in the landfills and could otherwise be diverted to make compost or something productive. And we saw the students at Eleanor Roosevelt release a video recently that shows us the way with having in-school composting programs. We have many more comments in our written comments that we submitted. I also would be remiss if I didn't address that there is ample funding coming from the federal government and the state government soon. Most of it, of course, is capital, but the Inflation Reduction Act will be providing, for the first time ever, tax credits that governments can apply for. So it's not just for business anymore, which will be an ample opportunity for installing solar or geothermal in our schools, which PGCPS is already making great progress on. PGCPS has proven itself to be a national leader in tackling the crisis in this realm of education. We hope that you continue to demonstrate this leadership in the final FY24 budget. Thank you for your time.
Madam Chair, you're muted.
I'm sorry. The next speaker is Beniti Sewell. Individual funding in-school meals.
Thank you. I want to start by thanking the board for the opportunity to be able to address you this evening. I stand here testifying as a parent, a PTA member within PGCPS, and just someone who is very concerned about our youth and their access to healthy food in this community. I have done some research on the topic. I've researched the RAND report that specifically talks about some of the challenges that we have in this county. Specifically access to access to healthy foods. If you take that issue and you compound it with the fact that we are coming out of a pandemic, and then on top of that, us knowing that many of our families had reductions in work, which has put many of our families at an economic disadvantage, it underscores the importance of us making sure that our children have access to healthy foods in school. We also know that there's data to support that when our children don't have healthy meals, that it reduces concentration and it reduces their ability to focus in school. Many of the children in this county, the only meal that they will have is the meal that they have in school. I want to applaud the CEO and the board's efforts during the pandemic to make sure that food was available to all children. And I ask and urge that you continue the work and the progress that you did during the pandemic to continue to make sure that our children have access to healthy food. I've underscored some of the issues that cause our children to have a lack of access to food, but we also need to understand that we're in a time where inflation is high. We know that eggs, a carton of the eggs is as expensive as $9, I heard the other day, which underscores when you sit down to look at this budget, I know that there are going to be trade-offs to be made. I stand here as an advocate on behalf of the mothers and the children who don't have access to this budget to go line by line and to understand what is at stake here. So I ask you to please, as you sit down to approve this budget, to keep intact the line item that our CEO has put in place for healthy foods for our children. Thank you for your time, and I appreciate all the hard work that you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our next and last speaker is Timothy Meyer, Mount Rainier Elementary School PTO.
Thank you. My name is Timothy Meyer, president of Mount Rainier Elementary PTO, with a few small requests, and even a plan to pay for them. As we make the climate change action plan reality, I'm asking you to improve building services with a few much needed hires. Dedicated stormwater experts, several master gardeners, and a director of sustainability. I've been a PTO leader for 4 years now, and these are some of the areas that have been shown to be most lacking. The climate change plan can't just be words on paper. We need experts and the resource commitment to implement it. We can also do more to help schools improve their grounds. Give every school a $10,000 allotment to invest in their own grounds and greening efforts. For benches, gardens, bike racks, that's about $2 million in a total budget of $2.75 billion, barely 0.07%. At Mount Rainier Elementary, We've raised more than $50,000 for our grounds over just the last 4 years, but not every school can do that on their own. Having beautiful, sustainable grounds shouldn't only be for kids who have parents who can write grants. Let's make it a core commitment system-wide. PGCPS has several departments for school maintenance, but I'm here to tell you that it's not enough and the current system isn't working. Our school has been waiting for more than a year to have one outdoor light repaired. We have 200 plus schools and not enough workers to cover every project in a timely manner. So let's make it easier for principals, parents, and school communities to do more. Our schools can be more than physical buildings. Let's make them unique, vibrant spaces curated with purpose. Finally, we can stretch dollars further. The vendor process is one example that's broken, wasteful, and desperately in need of reform. One example, our school is working to create outdoor classrooms. Every single dollar raised has been raised by the PTO, zero cost to PGCPS. For one of our projects, we looked at one item from 2 separate retailers. One is an official PGCPS vendor, the other was not. The cost was 51% for the non-PGCPS vendor, $900 less expensive, and that's for the exact same item listed 2 different places. Imagine those savings on a much larger scale, everything from notebooks to art supplies to recess equipment. Give your principals and teachers the freedom to spend more efficiently, and right there is your budget for the grounds improvements that I requested. Our schools need to exist to serve students, not line the pockets of the preferred vendors. So let's save those dollars, make real vendor reform part of the budget process starting today. And thank you to all of you for all the hard work you're putting in on the budget and the opportunity to speak.
Thank you so much. This completes the list of Did you guys hear me close out at all?
No,
I don't know
Madam
what,
Chair.
I don't know what is happening with Zoom, but it keeps going out and it keeps bringing me back in, and I need to keep signing in. So we'll work on that for the future. So thank you all for a good night. This concludes our public hearing. And it's been a long night. So to the board members and all of the administration and the public, we appreciate your patience. Thank you. Good night.